Howdy, y'all. It's Reese, aka Bearman Prime, on this July 20th. Welcome back to my Read the Bible in a Year series. Thank you again for joining me. God bless you all. Card in the top right hand corner for the rest of the playlist, and please hit the like button, subscribe button, and notification bell. Really do appreciate it. All right, so yesterday we wrapped up the part of the Gospel of John where it talks about how Jesus refers to himself as the bread of life. He is the one, the only way to eternal life, and that way is through belief in him, right? So now we're going to shift gears again. We're going to touch on a different subject, and we're going to go to Mark chapter 7 today, and we're going to first talk about the difference between God's laws and human traditions. Okay, this is important, particularly in the context of Israel, is that at this time, their laws, the laws that govern how they live, how their nation works, was tied up with their religion, with their belief system, right? Now, the intent was that they would be a nation of priests at the very beginning. We have to go all the way back to Exodus, to Moses, the Ten Commandments, all that. They would be a nation of priests. They would be the special people set apart for God, and they would follow God and follow his ways, and that was it, right? Of course, that didn't work out the way, well, it worked out how it was planned, but just not the way we would have thought so. And then, eventually they had a king, they had a proper government and all this, but they still kept their traditions and the religious system, the Judaism system. And over time, these things that they did, the animal sacrifices and the incense, the burning of the incense, and all the priestly things that they did, all of that they continued doing, but they forgot the meaning behind it, and so it became more of just a thing that they did. It's just the system that they did. There was no love of God in it. There was no faith behind their actions. So that's kind of where they're getting at here, is God's laws versus human traditions. Okay, so let's go to Mark 7, start in verse 1. Some Pharisees and some teachers of the law came from Jerusalem and gathered around Jesus. They saw that some of his followers ate food with hands that were not clean, meaning that they did not wash their hands in a special way. The Pharisees and all the other Jews never eat before washing their hands in this special way. They do this to follow the traditions they have from their great leaders who lived long ago. And when these Jews buy something in the market, they never eat it until they wash it in a special way. They also follow other rules from their people who lived before them. They follow rules like the washing of cups, pitchers, and pots. The Pharisees and teachers of the law said to Jesus, "Your followers don't follow the traditions we have from our great leaders who lived long ago. They eat their food with hands that are not clean. Why do they do this?" Jesus answered, "You are all hypocrites. Isaiah was right when he wrote these words from God about you. These people honor me with their words, but I am not really important to them. Their worship of me is worthless. The things they teach are only human rules. You have stopped following God's commands, preferring instead the man-made rules you got from others." And then he said, "You show great skill in avoiding the commands of God so that you can follow your own teachings. Moses said you must respect your father and mother. He also said whoever says anything bad to their father or mother must be killed. But you teach that people can say to their father or mother, 'I have something I could use to help you, but I will not use it for you. I will give it to God.' You are telling people that they do not have to do anything for their father or mother. So you are teaching that it is not important to do what God said. You think it is more important to follow those traditions you have, which you pass on to others. And you do many things like that." Jesus called the people to him again. He said, "Everyone should listen to me and understand what I am saying. There is nothing people can put in their mouth that will make them wrong. People are made wrong by what comes from inside them." Then Jesus left the people and went into the house. The followers asked Jesus about what he had told the people. He said, Do you still have trouble understanding? Surely you know that nothing that enters the mouth from the outside can make people unacceptable to God. Food does not go into a person's mind, it goes into the stomach, then it goes out of the body. When Jesus said this, he meant there was no food that is wrong for people to eat. And Jesus said, the things that make people wrong are the things that come from the inside. All these bad things begin inside a person, in the mind. Bad thoughts, sexual sins, stealing, murder, adultery, greed, doing bad things to people, lying, doing things that are morally wrong, jealousy, insulting people, proud talking, and foolish living. These evil things come from inside a person. These are the things that make people unacceptable to God. Verse 24. Jesus went from there to the area around Tyre. He did not want the people in that area to know he was there, so he went into a house, but he could not stay hidden. A woman heard that he was there. Her little daughter had an evil spirit inside her. So the woman came to Jesus and bowed down near his feet. She was not a Jew. She was born in Phoenicia, an area in Syria. She begged Jesus to force the demon out of her daughter. Jesus told the woman, "It is not right to take the children's bread and give it to the dogs. First, let the children eat all they want." She answered, "That is true, Lord. But the dogs under the table can eat the pieces of food that the children don't eat." Then he told her, "That is a very good answer. You may go. The demon has left your daughter." The woman went home and found her daughter lying on the bed. Demon was gone. Verse 31. Then Jesus left the area around Tyre and went through Sidon. On his way to Lake Galilee, he went through the area of the 10 towns. While he was there, some people brought a man to him who was deaf and could not talk clearly. The people begged Jesus to put his hand on the man to heal him. Jesus led the man away from the people to be alone with him. He put his fingers in the man's ears. Then he spit on a finger and put it on the man's tongue. Jesus looked up to the sky, and with a loud sigh he said, "Ephphatha." This means open. As soon as Jesus did this, the man was able to hear. He was able to use his tongue, and he began to speak clearly. Jesus told the people not to tell anyone about this. But the more he told them not to say anything, the more people they told. They were all completely amazed. They said, "Look at what he has done. It's all good. He makes deaf people able to hear and gives a new voice to people who could not talk." All right. So, first part, let's go over the part about God's law versus human tradition. So, what I was saying before, that's exactly what Jesus was getting at, where the Pharisees, the Israelites in general, were not following God's commands. They were following what at first was God's commands, but were eventually morphed into their own traditions and their own rituals, and et cetera, et cetera. Their religiosity got in the way, and they dropped the ball. They lost the marble, as they say, and forgot all about God and their traditions and beliefs. And he used the example of God says in the 10 Commandments, you must honor your father and mother. Okay, but what the Pharisees and the teachers of the law were saying was allowable was if your father and mother needed, money, food, whatever, and you had that to give them to them, you could technically say to them, "I had this that I could give you to help you, but I'm not. It must go to God first. It would go to the temple," right? That's what they were teaching. So, yes, you're contributing to the Lord, but you're also not doing what he told you to do, which was honor your father and mother, which, includes helping them out, right? You would, do right by God by following his commands, okay? Jesus does not need your money. The Lord does not need your money or your resources or your earthly things. He doesn't need any of that. He can use it, yes, and he will use it if you give it gladly. But if you do that but don't follow his commands, don't follow his teachings, then you're not really doing what he wants you to do. Okay? His commands are pretty simple and they're pretty easy to understand. Love God, love your neighbor. Okay? You keep those commands and everything else falls into place, right? And that's what Jesus was calling them out on. He was calling them out saying, hey, look, you're following your own ways. You're doing your own traditions, your own beliefs. This is not what God intended. This is not what Moses told you to do. You have warped it into your own twisted thing, essentially. And then we see a interesting example here of Jesus helping a Gentile, a non-Jewish woman. This woman who came from Phoenicia. Her daughter was possessed, and Jesus uses the metaphor here. It is not right to take the children's bread and give it to the dogs. First, let the children eat all they want. So the children here in this example is the nation of Israel, and the dogs are everyone else, the Gentiles, the non-Jews, us, me, right? And this goes back to what I've been saying, is that right now in his earthly ministry, pre-death of Jesus, his focus is on the nation of Israel. He is speaking only to the nation of Israel. His disciples and his apostles are teaching only to the nation of Israel, right? They had no intent of going out to the Gentiles at this time. There is no plan right at this moment to go out to the Gentiles, right? So that's what he's trying to convey to this Phoenician woman, this Gentile woman, is that it's not my place to do this for you. I must, go to the nation of Israel first and give them what they need. And then she counters with, a bit of snark and a bit of wise words on her end and says, it's, even the dogs eat the scraps that fall from the table, And he's like, you know what? You're right. Your daughter's healed. Okay. So he's clearly not uncompassionate. I mean, if he wanted to, he could have helped, the woman's daughter right away. He could have gone out to the Gentiles and started proclaiming his message then, but it was not time. Okay. And he probably would not have been effective at all, because he'd just be a guy, just saying stuff to the Gentiles. They have no concept of that. But when someone comes and says, hey, this guy is the son of the creator God, he died for you and rose from the dead and forgave all your sins through the shedding of his blood, well, that says something more. Okay, that's a totally different thing, right? So important distinctions there, and it's important to get the context of where things are what's going on here. So anyway, that's all for today. We're going to pick it up there tomorrow. Thank you again for joining me. I sure do appreciate it. I'll see y'all tomorrow.